I went to my friend Jerry and said, Jerry, because that's his name, we need Russia to join our alliance. So the four of us, Germany, Turkey, Austria, and Russia, can win this game of diplomacy. He agreed, and we four proceeded to crush the other three players. This took a while because we were playing a very popular variant, the most popular variant of diplomacy, where instead of playing in person, sitting around the board over a few hours, you submit your moves to a website, and each turn takes 1 day. So you have all day to message the other countries and negotiate before submitting your moves. Maybe Jerry felt like 4 versus 3 was unsportsmanlike, but he didn't say anything. What did he know? This was, after all, his first game of diplomacy. It was not, on the other hand, mine. Later that week, as he was at my desk, we were talking about how the alliance was going, Jerry saw a suspicious-looking folded piece of paper. He picked it up, unfolded it, and saw this. This is the Treaty of Vienna. It describes how Turkey, Austria, and Germany intend to divide up the world in this game of diplomacy. Notice, Russia is not on there. I called it the Treaty of Vienna because I, Austria, controlled Vienna when I went to Turkey and Germany and proposed this alliance. Because the only way our plan could fail was if the other 4 players realized we were working together and united to stop us. There was no way we 3 could stop 4 players united, just like there was no way those 3 could stop we 4. So we needed a patsy, someone we could lie to and trick into thinking they were part of our alliance. That way, we'd have more than enough power to crush the other 3 players, and when it was too late, we'd stab Jerry in the back. I think, if anything, Jerry finding this piece of paper on his own made it even worse. When he saw it, he immediately realized what it was, realized he'd been lied to, manipulated, and he wasn't on the inside of a winning alliance, he was on the outside, and about to lose his first game of diplomacy. Which he did. Diplomacy is an old game, one of the oldest strategy war games people still play. Henry Kissinger said of it, I know of no better way to teach the principles of realpolitik. Well, what is realpolitik and why is it worth teaching? Put simply, realpolitik is power politics. It's how you negotiate when you have no ideology, no principles, only the desire to gain power, hold power, and deny it to others. Why should we bother trying to understand this? Well, 2 reasons. First, it is one of the foundations of our political D&D campaign. Why did Lord Kenway assassinate Lord Edmund? Because Kenway had power and wanted to keep it, and Lord Edmund, alive, was a threat to that. When folks on Twitter watching my D&D game live freaked out at Lord Kenway's behavior, I said, the heroes are playing D&D. Kenway is playing diplomacy. Also, because it's happening around us and to us every day, many things in the real world that seem inexplicable when you believe you live in a world dominated by differing principles and ideologies suddenly make perfect sense when you see it in terms of people trying to gain power, hold power, and deny it to others. A friend of mine was the writer on a AAA video game, and things were going well. They'd written and recorded a lot of dialogue, and the team and the publisher were happy with it. This, I told him, was a rare occurrence. Then there was a shakeup at the publisher, and someone from the new regime flew out and announced that they were throwing out all the old dialogue and text and rewriting and recasting the entire game themselves. This was something of a crisis, and many of his coworkers had a very hard time understanding why the publisher should want to do such a thing. They all asked, and often many times because they didn't get it, what's wrong with the dialogue? That's the kind of question you ask when you believe you live in a world run on principles and ideologies. And if you assume that, then the only reason the publisher would do this is because there's a problem with the dialogue, and they want the game to be the best it can be. That's their ideology. Make the best game possible. Or maybe, slightly more cynical, make the most profitable game possible. If you believe you live in that kind of world, then your car mechanic, for example, is only going to tell you what's actually wrong with your car, because their job is to fix your car. But in the real world, mechanics often tell you something entirely different, because they have the power in the relationship. You need them, they don't need you, and they can tell you don't know anything about cars. So they're going to use that power because their job is to extract money from you. My friend explained, and I believed him, there's nothing wrong with the dialogue. The dialogue is fine. Well, there must be something wrong with it. Otherwise, why would the publisher be throwing it out? Listen, he said, they have no idea if the dialogue is good or bad. Well, how do you know that? Because, he explained, they haven't read the dialogue. In order to read it, they'd have to get it from him, and they never did. Well, then why are they trying to throw it out? If you've played diplomacy, you know the answer to this. They wanted to throw the dialogue out and do it themselves because controlling the narrative of the game, really controlling any element of it, gave them power. They wanted to take that power and keep it and deny it to the developers. They would have done the same thing with the art, animation, programming, except all of these things are much more expensive than writing. And in some cases, they did try it, but waited too late in the schedule. All his stories about negotiating with the publisher weren't about making the best game possible. That never came up. It was about who had the power in the relationship. And if you are used to dealing in principles and ideologies, and they are fighting over nothing but power, you're going to lose a lot of battles until you start playing their game. The thing about power politics is it forces a kind of regression toward the lowest common denominator. If 3 players are negotiating based on principle and ideology, and 1 player cares only about power, that player is very likely to win, or at least cause something catastrophic to happen to the other players. The only way the other players can compete is to start playing power politics themselves. It's the diplomatic equivalent of the Red Queen hypothesis. If you have a population of organisms who are just happy to be alive and enjoying life, and another population of organisms used to desperate, unending struggle for survival, when the 2 populations meet, the one used to desperate, unending struggle tends to win. Which means, over time, all populations trend toward desperate, unending struggle for survival. So how does diplomacy work, and what lessons does it teach? It's actually very simple, probably simpler than almost any other game you've ever played, as far as the rules are concerned. This is the map. It's a map of Europe right before the outbreak of World War I. But there are lots of variant maps, including fantasy maps, like Game of Thrones maps, Middle-earth maps. You can see that the players and the territories they control are color-coded. Germany is brown, England is pink, France is blue, and so forth. Let's zoom in on a familiar corner of it. This is the North Atlantic around the English Channel. You can see the map is divided into territories, no surprise, and each territory is color-coded based on who controls it. However, some territories are empty, like Wales, and some have a little dot in them, like London and Belgium and Paris. Those little dots are called supply centers, and they are what you're fighting over. The game is played in turns, each turn representing 6 months in the real world. The game begins in spring 1901, that's the first turn. The next turn is autumn 1901, then spring 1902. You could just call them turn 1 or turn 2, but this terminology means when you talk about the game, it sounds dramatic. I had to retreat back in autumn sounds more dramatic than on turn 6. But also, at the end of each year after the autumn turn, all players count up how many of these little dots they control. If they've gained dots, they get to build new armies. If they've lost dots, they have to disband armies. At the end of every year, in other words, your army always equals the number of supply centers you control. If you take a territory in spring, nothing happens. You only check to see who controls what at the end of each year, after the autumn turn. This is important. If your army is in a new territory at the end of the year, it becomes your territory. There are 34 of these dots on the map. If you control 18 of these, half, you win. So how do you get dots? I'm about to teach you almost all of the gameplay of diplomacy. There are lots of fiddly little exceptions, but you're about to learn most of the rules in the next 5 minutes. Let's set up an example scenario. You can see I, Britain, have an army in London and a fleet in the English Channel. Germany has a unit in Ruhr, and France has a unit in Picardy. We're about to fight over Belgium. Notice that nobody has more than 1 army or navy in any one territory. That's because 1 is the maximum number of units you can ever have in any one space. This isn't Risk or Civ. 1 army is the max. Numerically, it never gets more complex than this. There's no math in diplomacy, no cards, no dice. Whatever might intimidate you about other games, diplomacy doesn't have it. I want Belgium, and my rivals are distracted. So I issue 2 orders on this turn. I say my army in London moves to Belgium. Well, how does it do that? It can't fly. It can do that because my second order is my fleet in the English Channel convoys my army from London into Belgium. If we assume this is autumn, then at the end of the year, this happens. I now control Belgium. And if I haven't lost any other supply centers, I get to build a new unit, an army or navy in one of my original supply centers. My empire grows, and I'm 1 dot closer to winning. Let's make the scenario just a little more complex. It's spring, and Germany has a unit in Belgium, the territory I'm trying to take. Everything else is exactly the same. The German army isn't doing anything in Belgium. It issued no orders. That's very weird, but it could happen. The little brown square behind the army shows which country it belongs to, just like the little pink square shows us the navy in the English Channel belongs to me. I issue the same orders. Army in London to Belgium, convoyed by the fleet in the English Channel. What happens? Nothing. Literally nothing. All the units stay where they are. No dice are rolled. No cards are played. Since my attacking force is equal to the force that's there, we bounce. 1 is equal to 1, no one has an advantage, so nothing changes. This should all be straightforward. Let's introduce the most important rule, how you break ties like this. Let's go back to our original scenario. I want Belgium, and I have an army that can convoy over there and take it. But France has an army in Picardy that could move there, and Germany has an army in Ruhr that could move there. If all three of us issue that order, all three of us bounce, and no one takes Belgium. So, I go talk to France. Listen, mes amis, we have a long history of friendship together. Neither of us wants to see Germany get more powerful, and if I had Belgium and the extra unit it would get me, I would be a stronger ally for you. Let's imagine France is very easily persuaded and goes along with this. How does France support me? It literally issues a support order. In autumn, the orders are revealed. I try to move to Belgium. Germany tries to move to Belgium, and everyone looks at France. France issues the following order. Army in Picardy supports army in London into Belgium. Remember, if France tried to move there on her own, all three of us bounce. But because France said she was supporting me, I have 2 units, mine and France's. Germany only has 1. I take Belgium. That's diplomacy. That's almost the entire game. Those are all the orders: move, support, convoy, and hold. There's another rule about how a unit can't support if it's being attacked. So if Germany can attack that unit in Picardy with another unit, or convince an ally to do it, it doesn't lend its support, and me versus Germany is back to 1 versus 1, and we bounce. That's it. You know how to play diplomacy. There are lots of fiddly little exceptions and clarifications, but these are the core rules. The reason it's called diplomacy, the reason it's famous for teaching realpolitik, the reason it's famous for destroying friendships — Jerry didn't speak to me for 3 days, he was so angry — is because the only way to get anything done in diplomacy is to convince the other players it's in their best interests to do so. Actual, real-world diplomacy is the only way to get anything done. So, you make deals. You beg, threaten, cajole. You make carefully constructed arguments about what the other players are going to do, about what you're going to do, about what you would like your potential ally to do, and if you're good, it works. If you're good, Russia really does attack Germany, just like you said. Now it's time for you and France to ally. Maybe you're just allying to force Germany out of Belgium. Maybe it's an alliance that will last through the whole game. Maybe you'll have to give something up. Okay, you'll move your fleet out of the English Channel. You knew France was going to ask for that, and you can do what you need to do from the North Atlantic anyway. But do you trust that France won't sucker punch you, and in the same turn you move out of the English Channel, she moves in? What are you doing in the English Channel? We agreed. No, I agreed that I would leave with the clear understanding that... Okay, no, we never talked about your fleet. Listen, obviously if my fleet being there threatens you, then your fleet being there threatens me, and you knew that. But no, you're right, we didn't talk about your fleet. That's true, even though it was implied. So let's agree that no one owns the English Channel. If either of us moves in there, it's an act of war. In fact, let's get it in writing. This is what really happens. Those are classic moves and offers. I remember in the 90s going to one of the local Los Angeles game conventions, and I'd be playing Nuclear War or Shogun or whatever, and some dude would come up to one of the other players with this huge document he'd written out. He'd interrupt the game urgently so they could both look over it and affirm it was what they both agreed to. Then the player in my game would sign the treaty, and the other dude would leave. They were playing diplomacy at a convention where the game is played live over the course of several days, and one turn is 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Because there's a deadline for getting moves in, folks scramble around at the last minute trying to get treaties agreed to before moves are submitted. Games of diplomacy online are typically played blind. The website handles all the communication, so when I message France, it just says message from Britain. This is useful if you're playing with your friends. Whatever reputation you might have, well, no one knows who you are. They can't negotiate with you and use everything they know about you. They have to negotiate with Germany or whoever you're playing. And all they know about Germany is what Germany has said and done. Playing online like this, the most common and popular way, is it's like dating 6 other people at once. Why isn't Germany talking to me? I just messaged her 30 minutes ago. Maybe she's not paying attention. Wait, Austria hasn't messaged me either. Oh my God, are Germany and Austria talking? They can't talk. I need them to be enemies or this whole thing falls apart. In diplomacy, the only thing you have is your position on the board and your ability to be convincing. And as a result, most of diplomacy is about you. There are no dice to blame. If you fail, it's because you were not convincing, or someone else was more convincing. Eventually, your friend, someone you trusted, will stab you in the back. That sucks. It sounds funny, but when it's happening in the game, it really sucks. People get really genuinely upset because the simple rules force you to put yourself into the game. Knowing this is coming, knowing you can't get anything done without allies, but you can't win without stabbing someone in the back, everyone is wondering, is this the turn I get stabbed? Maybe I should stab them in the back first. Of course, it's just a game. If all players agree to stop, you can stop. That's true in every game, by the way. You cannot technically ally to win. The game has no provision for that. But you can agree to force all the other players out, so they have no say in what happens, then divide up the world between the remaining players so no one has 18 power centers, the number you need to win, and you remaining players just agree to stop. That's an allied victory, and that's what the Treaty of Vienna was. But what if, as you and your allies are working toward getting 12 or 13 power centers each, one player decides to make a break for it and try to get to 18? This is possible, especially if the other players aren't expecting it. Just blitz through undefended territories and grab a handful more centers. Get to 18. Win by yourself. But they're thinking of the same thing. Do you trust them? Like a lot of things, civics, law, logic, I think we should be teaching diplomacy in 7th grade. That's about the right age to start with diplomacy. If 13-year-olds learned this game and played it in school, they would grow up with very different ideas about how the world works, and I think they'd be better prepared to understand the political realities of the world they live in. Because on the board, in Europe, in spring of 1901, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter what you or the other players believe, where you stand on issues. All that matters is how much power you have and how you can use that power to gain more. That was the diplomacy video, folks. I hope it was interesting. The whole politics series is something where I think of each video as an ingredient, and once we get to the end, we'll talk about how to put all those ingredients together and run a sophisticated political D&D game. It's difficult for me thinking about why my game works the way it does to kind of download everything I've learned in the past 30 years. But playing diplomacy with your friends, playing a couple of games is a really intensive way to learn a lot about power politics very quickly. This video didn't really explain the usage of power politics. Nothing can explain that apart from actually playing the game or being a diplomat. When I introduced diplomacy at Turtle Rock Studios, all the players very quickly started joining other games online with random strangers. They were completely hooked. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo to Web Diplomacy, a site that you can jump on online and play with your friends, play with strangers. I actually started a Discord. I'll put a link to that in the doobly-doo where people who watch my channel or are on my subreddit can get together and hang out and talk live. That's what Discord is for. And maybe people in Discord will want to play diplomacy. I think that would be a lot of fun. Just try not to take it too personally. We hit 100,000 subscribers on the channel. That's a huge milestone, although it is, somewhat arbitrary. None of my videos get 100,000 views really, except ones that are really old and have been linked to online. So a substantive percentage of those subscribers are not watching my videos. So these numbers, I think, are somewhat of a distraction, but it's still pretty cool. We did a contest where I'm going to give away 3 sets of Artisan Dice Titanium Dragon's Breath dice. I drew the winners. The winners are Eocene, Lemon Sir, and Connor DeBruce. There's a pinned tweet on my Twitter feed at Matt Colville where you can see the Twitter handles of the users. And somewhat to my surprise, but I think to the relief of a lot of my followers, the Twitter program didn't really move the needle. I mean, I got more subscribers, but I always get more subscribers when I post a video, and you couldn't really tell the difference between the viewership of this new video with a contest and a new video without a contest. So I think maybe we're at the end of doing contests. Also, Trogaff sent me this, which is a Death Tyrant miniature Undead Beholder. Trogaff is one of my first and earliest followers, a fellow critter. I don't know exactly where this comes from. I believe he went to a dude in France, he's French, and had a 3D modeler, and had a 3D modeler build this on a computer, and then had it 3D printed. And he sent out, I think there's only like 3 or 4 of these, and he sent them out to me and Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins. I'm going to get this little guy painted. I already have a pretty good idea what he'll be doing in my next campaign. Stay tuned. I'm going to send it to Blue Light Painting, which is a dude I found on Twitter who painted some trolls for me. I'll see if I can find pictures of them. The paint job is fantastic. It's expensive, but these are huge minis and the paint job is amazing. I don't know what game these are for. The scale is where these are obviously not troll. I mean, like they're 4 or 5 times the size of a normal dude. So these are obviously not trolls. They're more like hill giants or maybe stone giants, but the paint job was fantastic. So I'm super looking forward to sending more work to Blue Light Painting. I'll put a link to Blue Light Painting in the doobly-doo, so if you want to contact him and get some painting done, I encourage you to do so. That's it, folks. As usual, I don't run ads in front of my D&D content. I feel like I could just record this section and append it to the end of every video. I think there are some sites that do that. I don't run ads in front of my D&D content because don't we all hate ads? But I am an independent fantasy author. If you want to help support the channel and you like fantasy, which I think you probably do if you like D&D, come by the link in the doobly-doo. I have 2 books up. They're each $5, of which I see $4. So if you buy both books, you're throwing me $8. Next video, maybe next 2 videos, I think we're going to talk about monsters, starting with the Medusa and how to make Medusas more challenging for a low-level party. Until next time, peace out.